she's following me. Like she's following me like out of the store, like yelling and just making this big scene about
checking her
seeing
receipt.
my receipt, even though you did not check the person in front of you.
And so that's exactly what I stopped to say. You didn't. Picture this, 1619. The first ships arrive in America carrying human cargo. Stolen. Doctors, lawyers, astrologers treated worse than any animal, brutalized physically and mentally, beaten, and then lynched.
Fast forward, 1865, the Emancipation Proclamation, a law that was set up to free blacks, but instead replaced plantations for chain gangs. 100 years later, 1964, Malcolm, Martin, Medgar, and still not enough movement.
2019 marks 400 years. On the 401st year, we sat behind our computers watching the lynching of George Floyd. When it comes to race relations, we have work to do.
My name is Sarah Pearson Collins.
And I'm Keziah Pearson.
And we are
The Race Card LLC.
Welcome back to another episode of White Privilege of the Race Card LLC. Because today that's what we're going to talk about. We're talking about white privilege. And the card that white privilege does not exist. So that's the statement on our deck of cards. If you have not gotten these cards, I am shouting out, go get these cards. They have a QR code, takes you to an article, video, statistic. That's it. Okay, I'm done. Let's go.
Go on to racecard.com.
So
here's my answer.
Oh, what did she put?
Fiction.
Oh, mine is fiction too. Mine is fiction.
Okay, anyway.
You just did a boomerang.
Is that what that was?
That's a boomerang when you take it out and do that. Yeah. All right, and go.
Go ahead.
No,
I already
you
said
go
fiction.
ahead. I said fiction too.
Okay,
The reason why I say fiction is because, like, okay, so I'm just going to put a couple things out there. Just because you're white and you do have these privileges, it's not like it's your fault that you were born white, just like it's not my fault. I mean, we're born how we're born. We're born into whatever class that we're born into. There are white people who struggle. So sometimes we hear a lot of times that, like, I don't have privilege. I'm struggling. Or we had a comment.
So we had a comment. I'm sorry.
Oh, look, hold on. You got it a little.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. So we had a comment on one of our pages. Somebody was upset, and they said, it was a white male. He said, "Where's my white privilege? I'm homeless," and da-da-da-da, right? And so the thing is, my response was, I'm sorry that you are homeless. I'm sorry that anybody of any color is homeless. And I didn't say anything about white privilege because I personally don't like the term because it causes people to shut down and walls to go up. But it's true. There is white privilege. So I stepped away from the situation and I thought about it. Yes, you are homeless. But when you're matched up with another homeless person
Who may be
a person of color, another homeless person, your privilege in that situation is that you could stand out on a corner and ask somebody for money, and more than likely they would give it to you.
9 times out of 10.
That is your privilege. Mm-hmm. That's your privilege in that situation. No, it's not a privilege to be in that situation, but in that situation, the privilege is your skin color allows you to go and ask somebody for some money or knock on somebody's door and not be
my skin color does not allow me or does not afford me the opportunities to walk into a store without feeling like I'm being watched. And this does not happen every single time. However, it does happen more than not. It does not allow me. I'm constantly, and I say this all the time, my brain is constantly looking for this because because it happens so much. Like I could be standing in line. We were at a cookie spot, and the lady tells the guy in front of me, he happened to be white, that if you're a healthcare worker, you're entitled to
A free cookie.
So he gets his free cookie, he goes. So I'm next, and I'm
Waiting for the same message.
for the same message, and then so I don't get the message, and I said, oh, because I overheard it. I said, oh, so if you're a free healthcare worker, you get a free cookie, and so. I know cookie, it sounds crazy. And so she says, oh, yeah, that is true or whatever. And so I could tell that there was some hesitancy. And I'm like, well, do I need to go grab my badge? And so the guy started to say yes. So they didn't question them. But then it was a process of, do I believe her? And I could have just easily gone and grabbed the badge. But it was just like,
I have to prove. I have to
constantly prove.
And that's white privilege that you don't have to prove.
Just another story. So, and this is not a story. Well, this is a true story is what I'm trying to say. So, my mom, she had a stroke probably about 3 years ago. There was a bad accident. And so now we have a hang tag, a handicap hang tag. So we have it in my truck because when she's in the car with us, and we have to park close to the door. Mm-hmm. So we pull up to this plaza. I pull into the parking spot, and then a lady in a car. So my window is like right here. So literally all you see is my little brown face. You don't know if my legs work. You don't know if there's any type of DME in the car. And so she pulls up and she gets mad, and she tells me that I'm parked in the wrong place. Mm-hmm. And so it's like I'm being questioned about the legitimacy if I have the right. I'm sorry. If I have the right to even park in the spot that I'm in, and so we're constantly having to prove our way. Mm-hmm. And this kind of goes back to the laws that were in place shortly after the Civil War, and it was called the Black Codes. And this can be applied even to today. It's the codes that restricted blacks from being able to go certain places, actually still keeping them really confined. Anyone had the right to question them at any time, and it's still happens today. So even the trials that just happened where there's a black male who happened to be in the wrong neighborhood walking, and so he gets gunned down. Even to the point.
How is there a wrong neighborhood? This is America. We should be able to
land on the
free, right?
That's what they say.
Right.
But not everybody has those same luxuries and freedoms, and so that's where that white privilege comes into, to feel like that you have the right to
I can go anywhere I want.
I can say anything I want to do to anyone else. I can get anything I want to get. That's that privilege that we're talking about. Even the Karens, even like, the name that they've deemed Karen, like that stems from you feeling like you are entitled to certain things all the time. And when you don't get them, then there's this big old tantrum. And now they're catching it on TV, on film. So now you're seeing it, but this just happens. It happens all the time. It happens all the time. So that's
another example of white privilege. You were talking about the black codes, and I probably said something and steered the conversation, but being able to go certain places. There was an area around here that was labeled a sundown town, and this is part of the privilege, the fact that you probably don't know, right? There was an area around here that's labeled a sundown town, and the sign
they just recently took that sign down,
right?
Yeah, and so a sundown town is basically I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sundown town is just it's a town that don't
get caught out there after sundown if you are a person of color. Mm-hmm. And white people don't have to know this. Is part of the privilege. You don't have to know this because it doesn't apply to you. You're not going to be the one that gets hung if you're in this area, or get hemmed up, or get arrested, or get beat down if you're in this area after sundown. However, people of color, and I hate that term. However, we do. And this sign just recently was taken down.
It's just recently.
Like we're in 2022.
I think it was in 2020 that it was maybe taken down, and it had just been taken down just then. And you would think
It's right in your backyard, sundown town.
Yeah. And there's still other towns.
And you probably don't know it because that's part of the white privilege. You don't have to know because it doesn't apply to you.
Mm-hmm. So what are you charging folks to do who are listening today?
Open your eyes.
Yeah, that's all. That's it. That's all that we're trying to do here is to help to open your eyes so that you can kind of see. Once you see it,
You can't unsee it.
no, and you can want to change.
You
it.
can either try to continue to ignore it, and I seriously believe if you have a soul, you will wrestle with it. If you have a conscience, let me put it there. If you have a conscience, you will after you've seen it, you will wrestle with it. And what I mean by that is either you're gonna try to ignore it, or it's gonna beat you up until you do something about it.
I just want to say one thing. Like, why is it? And I don't. Some of the big chain stores, like some places, like especially in the hood, I'll call it the hood, even though it's still in the suburbs, they make you produce a receipt every time you walk out the door. Now, I've gone deep into the suburbs, and there's nobody standing there checking your receipt. It's just all on good faith. Way out 10 miles out of the inner city of Buffalo, but the inner city of Buffalo who can go to two big chain stores, you get your receipt checked every single time. Every single time.
I know what. I was out, and the thing about it, we were out in a surrounding area where people don't generally check the receipts, and somebody went ahead of us, and I'll pull back just to see what people are going to do. Mm-hmm. And they went ahead of us. They didn't check their receipt, and they stopped me to check my receipt.
She had $100 and some odd in her basket. I had $100 and some odd in my basket.
I took every piece of that stuff back.
So she tried to check yours, and I walked on ahead, and so then she's following me, like out of the store, like yelling and just making this big scene about
checking her receipt.
My receipt, even though you did not check the person in front of me.
And so that's exactly what I stopped to say. You didn't check the person in front of me receipt. Why are you checking my receipt?
Random? Is it random? I mean, how do you pick and choose whose receipts you want to check? That's what I don't understand. So we actually put our stuff in the car and started down the street, and we got so angry, we turned around
and returned every piece.
And when they asked me why, it's because of the fact that you feel the need to pick and choose who you want to check.
You want to shop in the store?
I don't want to shop in the store, and you can have back every single item. Yes, it took.
And I know you done lost some money because some of that stuff you could not put back on the show. How about that? And it took even more. We wasted probably 4 hours because after we had shopped there, we had to go and redo the same thing someplace else. But the point was. And that it goes back to this whole white privilege thing. It goes back to this white privilege thing. Like, you don't have to deal with that. Why are all the black hair products like behind the like behind? There's like this ding when you go into certain stores. I don't even want to name the separate section for the black hair products that's closed off. And there's
when you go in, there's camera and there's cameras in every single aisle. But then there's just regular the white shampoo, the white people shampoo. Is the aisle before. Like, what is that? Like, what's really going on here? Like what, all black people steal? Because now that's where we're going with this, because the black products are there. So what, all black people steal? So we got to monitor them because we don't have to
monitor anybody else. We don't have
to. So that's the privilege piece that we're talking about today. If you have any questions, put them in our chat
right now.
Put them in our comment section. Please subscribe to our page, and stay tuned for more episodes.
But once you have contact with a person, somebody that has a different skin tone from you, once you have that contact, you're less likely to treat them in a negative manner, or if you see something happening, you're more likely to stand up and say, hold up, that's not right, as opposed to, well, it doesn't matter to me.